The Philippines in the Bible, the forgotten nation called by God. In this thought-provoking journey, we dive into ancient prophecies that may have quietly pointed to a nation many overlook, the Philippines. This tropical archipelago of more than 7,000 islands, full of breathtaking beauty and cultural depth, could be holding a hidden place in God's grand design. Imagine a land once untouched by the gospel, now rising with spiritual energy and purpose. What if the biblical phrase, the ends of the earth, mentioned in Isaiah, was more than poetic? It was prophetic. Could it have referred to this vibrant nation on the edge of the world? The idea may sound surprising, even radical. But as we explore, you'll find that the Philippines fits the biblical description in mysterious and compelling ways. The Bible often speaks of islands in distant lands, places where God's name had yet to be proclaimed. To ancient Israelites, these words weren't just references to faraway locations. They symbolize untouched territories, full of spiritual potential. In that light, the Philippines, a land remote from the biblical world yet rich in culture and soul, suddenly seems to take on new meaning. Long before Spanish missionaries arrived, the Philippines was home to indigenous tribes with deep spiritual roots. Their beliefs, woven from animism, nature worship, and local deities, reflected a profound connection to the earth and the unseen world. These ancient rituals painted a picture of a people spiritually attuned, yet without exposure to the God of the Bible. Then came a turning point. In the 16th century, Spanish missionaries landed on these shores, bringing with them the message of Christianity. But what happened next wasn't just a religious shift, it was a spiritual awakening. The Filipino people, already rich in spirituality, embraced the gospel with fervor. Christianity didn't just replace old beliefs, it transformed them, blending ancient traditions with new faith. The islands, once considered spiritually remote, became one of the most vibrant Christian centers in the world. It's as if the echoes of Isaiah's prophecy, "Sing to the Lord a new song, his praise from the ends of the earth, you who go down to the sea, and all that is in it, you islands and all who live in them," found their answer here in the joyful worship and deep faith of the Filipino people. Today, the Philippines stands at a cultural and spiritual crossroads. It bridges east and west, ancient and modern, indigenous and global. Its landscapes, mountains, rainforests, and seas, form more than just a stunning backdrop. They hold the story of a people who, perhaps unknowingly, stepped into a prophecy written thousands of years ago. This isn't just a history lesson, it's a powerful reminder. Even the most unexpected places can be part of a divine plan. The Philippines, once a distant, forgotten land, might just be a key chapter in the ongoing story of God's redemption. The Philippines hasn't just adopted Christianity, it has come to live and breathe it. Across the islands, faith pulses through festivals, rituals, and everyday life. From the crowded streets of Manila during the Feast of the Black Nazarene to the joyful celebrations of the Santo Niño. These aren't just traditions. They're powerful expressions of a deep, enduring devotion. Evidence of a people who have not only embraced the gospel, but have woven it into their identity. These celebrations aren't mere spectacles. They are living echoes of something far greater. They suggest a spiritual awakening so profound that it may even reflect the fulfillment of ancient prophecy. Could it be that the Philippines' rise from spiritual isolation to global Christian influence is part of God's divine plan? Around the world, millions of Filipinos carry their faith like a torch, lighting up communities in every corner of the globe. Their spiritual journey doesn't end at home. It crosses oceans, making the Philippines not just a center of faith, but a messenger of it. This remarkable transformation invites a powerful question. What if this wasn't just history unfolding, but prophecy being fulfilled? Maybe it's time to rethink our idea of sacred geography. Perhaps the ends of the earth, once thought to be spiritual wastelands, are actually vital centers of life and faith, just waiting to be recognized. As we look back on the Philippines' evolution, from its rich indigenous traditions through its encounter with Christianity to its modern-day role as a global spiritual force, we can't help but wonder, isn't this the very image painted by the prophets? This isn't just a tale of change, it's a story of purpose. The Bible often spoke in symbols, phrases like islands and ends of the earth, that carry deep spiritual meaning. To ancient Israelites, these words weren't about maps. They were about mystery, potential, and divine destiny. Look at the Philippines today, a nation on the edge of Southeast Asia, distant from the lands of the Bible, yet deeply moved by its message. Its very location echoes those prophetic words. A place once untouched, now illuminated. Picture this. A brilliant sunrise rising over forested hills and white sand shores. Every ray of light a new beginning. Every island a canvas where divine grace is still being written. It's a living metaphor for what prophecy may have always meant, not just for telling the future, but revealing the deeper layers of the present. And maybe, just maybe, the real mystery of the Philippines in the Bible is not only about its role in the past, but what it means for all of us today. Could this forgotten chapter be the key to understanding our own spiritual path? What if God's blueprint includes every nation, every culture, every people, woven into a single, magnificent design? In that vision, the Philippines is no longer a remote cluster of islands. It is a shining thread in the tapestry of divine purpose, reminding us that sometimes the most overlooked places are where the greatest stories begin. The ancient phrase, the ends of the earth, has often been read as a simple geographic reference. But what if it was something more? What if it was a promise? A quiet whisper of hope, pointing toward distant lands destined to play a powerful role in God's unfolding plan of redemption. Before the arrival of Spanish missionaries in the 1500s, the Philippines was a realm shaped by its own spiritual rhythm. It was a land rich with indigenous beliefs, where animistic rituals, nature spirits, and local deities created a deep and vibrant spiritual tapestry. These traditions connected people to the earth, the sea, and the unseen forces around them. There was no single temple or holy book, yet faith lived in every drumbeat, every ritual, every whispered prayer to the ancestors. In this setting, the Philippines was more than a remote archipelago. It was a hidden treasure, a sacred canvas untouched by the monotheistic world of the ancient Near East, yet poised for something greater. When the missionaries arrived, it wasn't just a meeting of cultures. It was a spiritual spark that would ignite an extraordinary transformation. The gospel didn't merely change the surface. It reshaped the nation's spiritual soul. What was once seen as distant, obscure, and forgotten became a living flame of faith. Today, the Philippines stands among the largest Christian nations in the world, a testament not only to conversion, but to divine orchestration. This was no accident. This was design. Imagine an architect carefully sketching, measuring, adjusting every beam and column for strength, beauty, and purpose. Now imagine God as that architect, laying out a blueprint for humanity, with every nation playing a unique part. In that grand design, the Philippines is not just a bystander. It's a keystone, a vital intersection where prophecy and present meet. Its location has always made it a crossroads for trade, for culture, for history. But now it also stands at a spiritual crossroads where ancient prophetic visions meet modern faith. The islands have become more than beautiful landscapes. They are living portals through which divine purpose flows. Consider the poetic power of scriptures like Isaiah 42:10, Isaiah 69, and Isaiah 66:19. These verses speak of distant coastlands, faraway islands, and nations that have not yet heard of God's glory. To the ancient Israelites, such language stirred wonder and mystery, visions of places beyond their world, awaiting the light. And now when we lay those words over a map and see the Philippines rising in faith, a remarkable alignment appears. Could this archipelago be part of that promise, patiently unfolding through the centuries? This transformation isn't just about religion, it's about identity. It's about a people stepping into a purpose that was waiting for them all along. The Philippines' journey from tribal traditions to becoming a vibrant Christian force shows us that change is not just possible, it's purposeful, divinely guided, spiritually significant. And it raises a deeper question. What if the places we once saw as spiritual afterthoughts, distant, remote, unimportant, are actually the very places from which light will shine? In today's shifting spiritual landscape, especially in countries like the United States, there's a growing hunger for something deeper. From the hustle of New York City to the digital frontier of Silicon Valley, People are moving beyond traditional institutions, seeking raw, personal encounters with the divine. There's a quiet revolution stirring, a quest for meaning beyond rituals, for a spirituality that feels alive. That's what makes the story of the Philippines so relevant. It mirrors this hunger. It shows us what happens when faith becomes dynamic, when it lives in song, in movement, in community, in celebration. It resonates with the spiritual reinventions we see today. From public figures like Oprah Winfrey, whose journey from adversity to influence has been fueled by a search for real spiritual connection, to the rule-breaking innovators of Silicon Valley, who refuse to accept things as they are and instead imagine what could be. But God's blueprint doesn't stop with the individual. It calls us to a shared mission, a collective rising. The story of the Philippines is not just about a nation discovering God. It's about a nation being used by God to speak to the world. With its rich heritage, its deep spirituality, and its radiant faith, the Philippines is emerging as more than just a Christian nation. It is becoming a global voice of spiritual renewal. Its history is proof that no nation is too far, too forgotten, or too unlikely to be called into God's plan. This is not merely a history lesson. This is a revelation, a reminder that divine destiny often begins in the margins, in the islands, in the places the world overlooks. And from those places, something extraordinary rises. Imagine a future where the world doesn't just look to great empires or powerful economies for inspiration, but to a humble archipelago in Southeast Asia, where the heartbeat of faith is as strong as its people's resilience. Picture the Philippines, not only as a nation of vibrant festivals and deep-rooted traditions, but as a global lighthouse of spiritual renewal. A place where prophecy is not just quoted but lived, where the songs sung in remote villages echo ancient promises, where each generation carries forward a story written long before they were born. This vision is not fantasy. It's not a far-off dream. It's a bold challenge to how we see destiny. It invites us to reconsider what makes a nation sacred and where the hand of God might truly be at work. Ask yourself, what if the divine blueprint, the plan that has guided nations since the dawn of time, is unfolding before our very eyes? What if the transformation of the Philippines isn't a chapter that has already been written, but a story still in motion? What if its rise isn't just historical, but prophetic? These are not just spiritual curiosities. These are sparks, igniting questions that stir our souls and open our minds to deeper possibilities. They invite us to journey beyond the familiar and prepare us to discover truths hidden just beneath the surface of history, faith, and culture. As we stand at the edge of this unfolding revelation, consider this not an end, but a bridge, a path leading us into even greater mysteries. What will we uncover next? What forgotten pieces of divine design will we see stitched into the soul of this remarkable nation? The journey of transformation. From scripture to today, transformation is not a new idea. It's an ancient rhythm, pulsing through time, echoed in scripture, repeated in history, and mirrored in modern lives. It's the story of rising from hardship, of being refined through struggle, of discovering purpose through pain. Take the biblical story of Joseph, a young man betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, and cast into the depths of despair. His life could have ended in bitterness, but instead his suffering became the soil from which his greatness grew. Joseph's journey wasn't just about survival, it was about destiny. Every pit, every prison, every painful moment was part of a divine equation. And when the time was right, that divine blueprint revealed itself, placing Joseph in a position of power, not just for his own sake, but to save an entire nation. His story teaches us that our darkest chapters can become the opening lines of our greatest victories. That within every setback, there is hidden purpose. That divine timing is often disguised as delay, and Joseph's journey is far from unique. Look at our own time. Consider Oprah Winfrey, whose name is now synonymous with influence and empowerment. Her beginnings were marked by pain, poverty, abuse, rejection. But instead of bearing her story, she transformed it. She embraced her wounds, turned them into wisdom, and used her platform to lift others. Oprah's rise is more than inspirational. It's spiritual. It reflects what happens when personal suffering becomes sacred strength. Now think of visionaries like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, men who have reshaped industries and redefined what's possible. Their accomplishments may seem like products of relentless work and brilliant minds, but there's something more. There are moments in their stories that feel guided, fueled not just by intellect, but by intuition, as if a spark beyond logic nudged them forward. When Musk dreams of Mars or Bezos reimagines commerce, it's not just ambition. It's as though they're following an invisible map, a blueprint written beyond spreadsheets or strategy. These modern giants remind us that divine purpose doesn't always wear a robe or quote scripture. Sometimes it looks like innovation, like reinvention, like faith dressed in the language of science, media, or business. Communal revival, from brokenness to beauty. Transformation doesn't just touch individuals, it ignites entire communities. Take the example of Detroit, Michigan, once a symbol of American industrial might, then a ghost town of economic collapse. But today, something extraordinary is happening. From abandoned factories and crumbling neighborhoods, new life is rising, not through billion-dollar bailouts, but through grassroots revival. Ordinary people, artists, pastors, teachers, young entrepreneurs, are breathing fresh purpose into forgotten places. They're not following old models. They're building something new, creative, unstructured, alive. It's a movement born from faith, not always religious faith, but faith in the power of change, in the belief that what was once broken can be made whole. A global invitation. And this is where the story of the Philippines returns, woven into the fabric of global transformation. This nation, shaped by its indigenous roots, colonial past, and unshakable faith, is more than a success story. It's a symbol, a reminder that divine destiny can rise from anywhere, from remote islands, from overlooked places, from people who never gave up on hope. Its rise calls out to the world. You too have a role in this grand design. What if the Philippines is not just living out its own prophecy, but modeling one for the rest of us? What if its journey is proof that faith, identity, and destiny are not static? They're evolving, active, and alive. This is not the end of the story. It's just the beginning. Stay with us, because the surprises ahead may challenge everything you thought you knew, not only about the Philippines, but about your own place in the divine plan. The living blueprint, transformation within, around, and beyond us. Imagine a future where communities once broken by hardship rise again, not because of grand institutions or sweeping reforms, but because everyday people decided to believe in something bigger than themselves. Picture the Philippines, the streets of Detroit, the shores of Lake Michigan, and even quiet corners of city parks, all becoming sacred spaces where personal transformation ignites collective change. In cities like Detroit, where abandoned buildings once symbolized lost hope, something beautiful is happening. Grassroots leaders, artists, and faith-driven citizens are breathing new life into forgotten places. They're not waiting for miracles from above. They are the miracle. Their creative energy, their unity, their faith in what could be rather than what was. It's rebuilding more than neighborhoods. It's reviving purpose, pride, possibility. This revival, this rebirth of a city, is more than an urban success story. It's a living metaphor, a powerful reminder that transformation doesn't stop with individuals. It spreads. It flows like a river through families, streets, communities, even nations, creating a ripple effect that can touch the world. Personal journeys, universal lessons across America. In quiet revolutions of the soul, people are stepping away from traditional religious institutions, not because they've lost their faith, but because they're seeking something deeper, something more personal, more real. These stories are not rare. They are everywhere. People leaving behind crowded pews to find God in the silence of the woods, in the rhythm of waves on a shoreline, in the quiet hum of a city morning. Reflective walks in Central Park, moments of stillness by Lake Michigan, prayer whispered on mountain trails. These aren't just acts of escape, they're acts of courage. The brave decision to find the divine not in walls or rituals alone, but in everyday life. And though the journey often begins in isolation, it never ends there. Because as each person finds their light, they become a torch for others. Their transformation becomes an invitation. The ancient echoes, Joseph, Oprah, and us. We've seen this pattern before, over and over, in ancient scriptures and modern lives. Look at Joseph from the pages of Genesis, betrayed by his brothers, thrown into a pit, sold into slavery, imprisoned, forgotten. And yet, through it all, Joseph never lost faith in the divine plan. He didn't just survive, he rose. He became a leader, a provider, a redeemer for those who had once betrayed him. His story isn't just about endurance, it's about trust. Trust in divine timing. Trust that every painful moment was part of a larger, holy design. Now fast forward thousands of years to Oprah Winfrey. Her childhood, marked by trauma, poverty, and rejection, could have shattered her, but instead she transformed it. Not by pretending the pain never happened, but by owning it, sharing it, using it as a bridge to connect with millions. Her authenticity, her vulnerability, they became her power. Her voice helped others find theirs. And then there are today's innovators, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, titans of technology whose visions seem almost otherworldly. Colonizing Mars? Reinventing global commerce? It's easy to call it ambition, but there's something deeper, an invisible spark, a sense that they're following not just market trends, but some internal compass, a whisper of destiny. Their breakthroughs suggest a divine blueprint at work, where creativity and intuition meet purpose and possibility. Daily practices. Simple acts, sacred power. But this blueprint isn't just for the Josephs, Oprahs, or Musks of the world. It's for you. And living it starts with small, deliberate steps. Begin each day by creating a sacred space. It doesn't have to be a cathedral. It can be a corner of your room, a quiet stretch of trail, a bench beneath your favorite tree. Spend 5 minutes in silence. Reflect, breathe, connect. This isn't about checking off a spiritual to-do list. It's about tuning into the divine frequency already within you. These rituals, however small, become anchors. They root you in purpose. They reframe your struggles as sacred. They transform daily life into divine experience. Communities of courage, finding your people. But even as you deepen your personal path, remember, transformation is stronger in community. You are not alone. Across cities like San Francisco, Austin, and Chicago, unconventional spiritual communities are thriving. Some gather in yoga studios, others in co-working spaces, cafes, or online. They're not bound by tradition, but by authenticity. They're places where people share stories, celebrate growth, support each other in their search for truth. If you can't find one near you, start one. A book circle, a meditation group, a weekly walk with friends. These spaces don't need perfection. They need honesty, presence, heart, the power of your story. And most importantly, don't keep your story to yourself. Your transformation, no matter how messy or unfinished, can inspire someone else to begin theirs. Maybe your breakthrough came after a betrayal, a divorce, a job loss. Maybe you found clarity on a quiet hike or in the middle of a storm. Share it, speak it, write it, record it. Let others see the light you fought to find. Because your story is not just yours. It's a seed. And once planted, it can grow in hearts you may never even meet. A tapestry of hope. So what does all this mean for us? It means the Philippines isn't the only sacred story being written. It means Detroit's revival isn't just about geography, it's about grace. It means Joseph's prison, Oprah's pain, your quiet courage. They're all threads in a divine tapestry. A tapestry that stretches across centuries and continents. A story that's still unfolding. And you're not just reading it, you're part of it. The shared journey, rising through resistance. There's something powerful that happens when people share their stories, not just their successes, but their struggles, doubts, and breakthroughs. It reminds us that transformation is never a solo act. It's a shared human experience, a sacred thread that connects us all across time, geography, and background. The truth is, the answers we seek in life rarely come when things are easy. They emerge in the middle of the storm, when we face adversity head on, when we trust the process even when it makes no sense, and when we dare to believe that every challenge is part of a divine tapestry, one we're still in the process of unraveling. The courage to choose a different path. When you step onto a non-traditional spiritual path, one that doesn't follow the crowd or cling to familiar customs, you'll likely meet resistance, not just from others, but from within. There's a moment many people face, standing on the edge of something new, something unknown. It's like being in the middle of Manhattan, surrounded by towering buildings, noise, pressure, and yet within all of it, you feel the quiet pull of something sacred inside you, a calling, a whisper to go deeper. And then come the questions, the self-doubt, the guilt, the fear. Am I strong enough to do this? What if this is the wrong path? What if I lose people I love along the way? These questions can be paralyzing, but they are also proof that you're standing on sacred ground, the threshold of transformation. Facing the inner storm. Even those who seem fearless on the outside often battle deep inner doubts. Think of Barack Obama, facing wave after wave of criticism during his presidency, yet somehow remaining steady, calm, focused. His strength didn't come from knowing he'd succeed. It came from believing in his vision, even when the world was unsure. That's the kind of resilience that transformation demands. When the world pushes back, and then there's the noise from outside, the judgment, the disapproval, the people who say, "You're losing your way. This isn't how it's done. Why can't you just stick to the script?" But here's the thing, many of the world's greatest visionaries face the same noise. Elon Musk was mocked for wanting to send rockets to Mars. Oprah was told she didn't have what it takes to lead in media. Innovators and spiritual seekers alike have always been misunderstood by those stuck in old ways of thinking. Criticism doesn't mean you're wrong. Often it means you're ahead of your time, turning resistance into fuel. So how do you keep going when both the world and your own mind try to hold you back? It starts with building inner anchors. Take a breath. Find a moment of stillness. Return to your center. Imagine sitting on a bench in Central Park early in the morning. The city is quiet. Leaves rustle gently above you. The noise fades, and you can finally hear your own thoughts. This is where clarity begins. Daily meditation helps still the internal chaos. Journaling lets you pour out your fears and slowly see the shape of your journey emerge. With every word you write, you affirm, "I am moving forward even when it's hard." Look back through those pages weeks or months later, and you'll realize you're growing. Finding your people. But inner work is only part of it. You also need people. Support, reflection, encouragement. Today, thanks to technology, spiritual connection doesn't have to be local. It can be global. From San Francisco to Austin, online forums and community spaces are filled with people walking similar paths. They may not share your exact story, but they understand your desire to grow beyond tradition, to discover a spirituality that feels alive, personal, real. Imagine logging into a virtual gathering where someone across the country says, "I get it. I've been there. And here's what helped me through." Suddenly, your journey doesn't feel so lonely. The struggle becomes bearable. The path becomes clearer. Stories that heal, stories that lead. And when you tell your story, whether it's filled with tears, triumphs, or both, you become a light for someone else. You never know who's listening, who needed to hear that they're not crazy, not lost, not alone. Your story is a lantern in someone's dark night. Every time you speak your truth, you create a ripple of hope. You help rewrite what it means to be spiritual, to be brave, to be whole. This is the journey. Transformation is not about having all the answers. It's about showing up, imperfect, unsure, but willing. Willing to face doubt, willing to rise again after criticism, willing to believe that your journey, yes, yours, is a part of something bigger than you. The road may be winding, the climb may be steep, but you are not walking it alone. The divine blueprint is alive. The power of resistance and the gift of transformation. When we share our stories, not just the polished parts, but the raw, real, unfiltered moments, we begin to realize something beautiful. Transformation isn't a solo mission. It's a collective experience, something deeply human. It connects us, binds us, heals us. The truth is, the most powerful breakthroughs in life are born from struggle, not from comfort, not from ease, but from the tension, the pushback, the chaos that forces you to choose between staying small or growing into who you were truly meant to be. Choosing the unconventional path for those who feel called to a deeper spiritual life, one that doesn't fit neatly into traditional boxes, the path forward can feel both sacred and terrifying. You may find yourself standing in the middle of a busy city, surrounded by noise and distraction. Yet inside you feel something stirring, a quiet pull, a whisper that says, there's more to this life than what you've been told. But then come the fears, the self-doubt, that voice in your head that asks, who am I to walk a different path? What if I'm wrong? What if I lose everything? This inner resistance is powerful. It can feel like a weight pressing on your chest, like a fog clouding your mind, like standing at the foot of a mountain with no map, no guide, and only your intuition to lead the way. And yet, this is where transformation begins. The mountain within. Even the most admired figures of our time, leaders, visionaries, creatives, have felt the same fear. Barack Obama, for example, faced constant criticism during his presidency, yet he remained calm, focused, steady, not because he had all the answers, but because he believed in something bigger than himself. He knew that inner strength isn't about never doubting, it's about moving forward even when you do. Reframing the criticism. When you choose to live differently, people will talk. Family may question your decisions. Friends may fall away. Society might label you as rebellious or even lost. You'll hear things like, you're going too far. You're abandoning the truth. Who do you think you are? But what if you could flip the script? What if every harsh word was actually a challenge, a test, a chance to sharpen your vision? What if the criticism wasn't a wall, but a mirror? Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what can I learn from this? What is this resistance trying to teach me? Think of a sculptor shaping a statue. Each hit of the chisel might seem harsh, even destructive, but in time those blows reveal the masterpiece hidden beneath the surface. Building inner strength. To move forward, you need anchors, daily practices that root you in peace. Picture this. You wake up in a small New York apartment, light spilling in through the window, the city already buzzing outside. Before diving into the chaos, you pause. You take a breath. You say to yourself, I am resilient. I trust my path. I am aligned with divine purpose. These words aren't just nice thoughts. They're spiritual armor, shields for the soul. And when the world feels heavy, you step outside. You walk through a quiet park. Trees whisper above you. The ground beneath your feet feels steady again. In that stillness, you remember who you are. The invitation of struggle. Now take a moment. Think back to the hardest chapter of your life. The time you felt isolated, abandoned, completely misunderstood. At the time, it felt unbearable, but now, can you see it? Can you see how that moment shaped you? How it prepared you for something greater? What if every painful season in your life was actually a divine invitation? A nudge from the universe saying, rise, evolve, step into who you were always meant to be? The hidden keys. Here's a wild thought. What if every obstacle you face is not a curse, but a key? A key that, when turned with courage, unlocks new strength, new clarity, new insight. This shift in perspective is everything. It transforms your story from one of defeat to one of destiny. The new way forward. Let's be honest. Traditional church models don't speak to everyone anymore. And that's okay, because spiritual fulfillment isn't about following rules. It's about connection, truth, freedom. It's about waking up every morning and making your daily routine sacred. A morning meditation, a quiet walk by the lake, a deep conversation with a friend who gets it. These moments aren't just part of your life. They are your spiritual life. Each one is a brushstroke on the masterpiece of your destiny. Lessons from legends. The story of Joseph, betrayed by family, thrown into a pit, sold into slavery, is more than just a biblical tale. It's a blueprint. He never gave up, never lost faith, and in time he rose to power, not in spite of the hardship, but because of it. Likewise, Oprah Winfrey's journey from a painful, impoverished childhood to becoming a voice for millions didn't come from hiding her story. It came from owning it, speaking it, letting her scars become stars. Their stories are not just inspiring, they're invitations, inviting you to believe that your past does not disqualify you, it equips you. Where do you go from here? The tools are simple, but they're sacred. Affirmations, stillness, journaling, nature, finding communities where others are walking the same road, and above all, telling your story. Because when you speak from the heart, you don't just heal yourself, you spark healing in others too. So don't shrink. Don't wait for permission. Your path, though difficult, is divine. This isn't just survival. This is sacred evolution. And you, my friend, are right on time. Your journey of divine empowerment. There's something deeply sacred about rising in the face of adversity. It's not just about resilience. It's about discovering who you really are beneath the noise, the fear, and the doubt. In every story of transformation, whether personal or collective, there is a common thread, a moment of reckoning, a moment when the world around you says stop, and your soul whispers go. That whisper, it's not random. It's a divine invitation, from inner doubt to inner power. So many of us carry hidden doubts. We ask quietly in the dark corners of our mind, am I enough? What if I leave behind everything I've known? What if I'm wrong? Choosing a path of spiritual awakening, especially one that breaks away from tradition, is not easy. It can feel isolating, like standing in the middle of downtown New York, surrounded by the noise of a million opinions, while your heart quietly longs for stillness, for truth, for something deeper. And yet, it is in these exact moments, when you feel most unsure, most vulnerable, that the seeds of transformation are planted. The courage to break free. When you decide to walk a new path, you'll face resistance, from within and from the world around you. Friends might question your choices. Family might worry. Society might label you. But none of that defines your truth. Internal resistance often feels like a low, constant hum of fear. What if stepping away from what I've always known is a mistake? What if I fail? But here's the truth. Breaking free doesn't mean abandoning your roots. It means replanting yourself where you can grow. A spark of the divine, look at the world around us. People who've created extraordinary impact didn't do it by following all the rules. They stepped into the unknown with a spark in their hearts. Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, yes, they're innovators, but their greatest strength didn't come from money or status. It came from something more mysterious, a kind of inner clarity, a divine nudge, a belief in what seemed impossible. And it's not just individuals. Cities like Detroit, once dismissed as broken, are rising again. Not because someone saved them, but because everyday people chose to believe in hope. They chose to lead from within, to create change from the ground up. They chose to lead from within, to create change from the ground up. That's what real power looks like. Turning rituals into sacred anchors. You don't have to change the whole world in a day. Start small. Begin your mornings with gratitude. Whisper a quiet affirmation before the world wakes up. Every setback is a setup for success. I am walking in divine alignment. I trust the journey, even when I can't see the way. Take time to breathe, reflect. Walk through your neighborhood or sit in a nearby park. These moments, small as they may seem, become spiritual anchors, sacred rituals, reminders that your life is holy ground. Your life is a masterpiece in progress. Every doubt, every challenge, every moment of pain, it all becomes part of a larger picture, a masterpiece in motion. What if every criticism you've received isn't a sign you're off course, but confirmation you're on the edge of a breakthrough? What if the doubts you carry aren't signs of weakness, but clues that you're on the verge of discovering deeper truth? What if your journey, messy, beautiful, unpredictable, is exactly what someone else needs to witness so they can believe in their own? Legacy beyond the material, true abundance doesn't come from what you collect. It comes from what you create. It's in the lives you touch, the hope you inspire, the energy you bring into a room. That's your legacy. Your divine gifts, your voice, your creativity, your empathy are not random. They are tools, sacred instruments meant to reshape not just your life, but the lives of everyone around you. When you trust in your own evolution, you become a mirror for others. You become proof that healing is possible, that faith is stronger than fear, that transformation is real. The ripple effect of courage. Barack Obama didn't change the world by avoiding criticism. He leaned into it, transformed it into focus, into grace. He stayed grounded, not because life was easy, but because his vision was bigger than the noise. And what about the visionaries of Silicon Valley? The dreamers who risked ridicule to build what had never been built before? Their journeys ask us to consider, what if every obstacle is a hidden key? What if every delay is a divine detour? What if nothing is happening to you, but everything is happening for you? An invitation to rise. Let that idea sink in. What if the universe isn't testing you, but trusting you to rise, to listen, to act, to stop shrinking, and finally step into your full power? You are not broken, you are becoming, and your path, no matter how unconventional, is sacred. Now ask yourself, what if your life is not falling apart, but falling into place? What if the challenges you face are sacred assignments? What if your transformation is meant to ignite someone else's? Because it will. It already is. So walk forward, boldly, gently, honestly. Let your light rise, not just for yourself, but for all those who are still searching in the dark. This is your time, this is your calling, and your story is only just beginning.